We're going to go ahead and add a bone structure to our character now. So at the moment, one of the best ways to do this is to actually make a cat rig. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and go to our Create tab and then modify to the Helpers button. And where we have a standard drop down underneath Helpers, I'm going to click on the drop down and go to Cat Objects. From Cat Objects, we'll go ahead and select Cat Parents, and Cat Parent will actually allow us to make a bone structure from scratch or pick a bone structure that already exists. We're going to make one from scratch, so I'm going to go ahead and select None from the Cat Rig Load and Save. And then from here, I'll actually be able to drag out a controller for my rig. So I'm going to drag this out close to the middle of where my feet are, and I'm going to expand it out to fit the stride of my feet. So I can adjust this here. I can move it to be kind of around the stride, and for right now I'm just eyeballing this. Okay, but very basic, and you can look at it from two-dimensional views. So this is probably okay for a base size. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is add some bones to this. So we're going to go ahead and add, if I go to the Modify tab up here, a pelvis. So at the bottom of the Modify tab there's a Create Pelvis, and I'll click on that. This pelvis will need to be moved to the pelvis of my model. So if I select the pelvis and move this up, I can move it to around where my pelvis will be. Now for mine, the pelvis isn't quite in the middle of the model, and that's because the controller that I made isn't quite in the middle of the model either. So I'm going to move the controller just a little bit to get it, get the pelvis pretty close to the middle. And then from here I can just make some finite adjustments to the pelvis. I can kind of eyeball this and move it towards the middle of the model. From here, what I'll also do is I'll go ahead and check the pelvis to see if it's right in the middle of the model, and it's not. So I can either move the pelvis or I can move the controller. I'm going to choose to move the controller. So I'm going to move the controller so that it adjusts the pelvis so it's in the middle of the model. And from here, I'm going to adjust the pelvis further by adjusting its size. And whenever you adjust size for bone structures in cat, you never want to use scale. You actually want to use the Modify tab and the length, width, and height data within the Modify tab and change that data. So what I can do is I can adjust like the width if I wanted to, or the length or the height. And what you'll want to do is just try to make this so that it fits really well in your model. Don't make it too small, don't make it too large, make it just right. And it's okay if the bone goes outside of the model a little bit, because the bones won't render, and you can definitely choose not to render the bones at any time. So that's okay. And at this point, what I want to do is I want to adjust the width so that the corners go down the middle of the leg. And at the moment, we're kind of eyeballing this part as well, but because when I add a leg, it's actually going to add it from the corner of this pelvis. And I can go ahead and adjust the height a little bit to kind of match my pelvis a little bit better. Actually, maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller. And then at this point, then I'll go ahead and add a leg. So in the hub setup, I can hit the Add Leg button, and it adds a leg. And I want to move the leg so that it is going down the middle of my model. So I'll actually select this handler. There's an IK handle at the bottom of the ankle, and I can use my move tool to move this so that the leg, at least the cat rig itself, is going down the middle of the leg, or close to the middle of the leg as well. And what I can also keep an eye on is trying to make it so that the joints, so where there's a break in the knee, matches the breaks in my model, so that when we rig, everything bends correctly. At the moment, things look good from the two-dimensional view, but the perspective view actually has the leg protruding out. We don't want that to happen. So what that means is the legs are actually a little too large. So I'm going to go ahead and click the upper leg, and I'm going to adjust the length of the upper leg. And from here too, you can adjust lengths of other parts of the leg too. Okay. And here as well, the lower part of the leg, I may be able to adjust the length of here, but we'll want to keep an eye on what happens to the rest of the model when we do that. So be careful when you adjust the leg as well. So look at this side too. Now this side kind of started to straighten a little bit. So I may try to adjust the length of the upper leg again to bring this bend back. Okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, it just needs to be close. And the ankle as well, you can adjust length of the ankle if you want. Like if I adjust length of the ankle, it'll bring this up a little bit. And of course this will protrude out if I do that, so I'll actually try to adjust the lower leg part again. And this is just a process where you may have to kind of go back and forth a couple of times, but eventually you'll get it. And from here, I may move, I'm seeing the lower part of the ankle is kind of protruding out a bit. So I may grab this by that little IK handle and physically move this a little bit so that it fits my model a little bit better. Okay. From here, I want to add a foot too, because you'll notice that there's no foot to this. So I'll actually select the ankle cat bone, and you'll see that there's 0 digits to it. If I type in 1 where the num digits is and hit enter, what will occur is a foot will get made. And I can adjust this as well. Okay, I can actually click on one of the feet here, and again I can go ahead and adjust the width and depth of the foot as well. So if I adjust the width, this will work. If I adjust the depth, this will bring the foot up a little bit. You'll notice that the foot is now going through the ground here. So I can choose to select both parts of the feet, holding down control and selecting both parts of the feet, and bring this up if necessary. So this will kind of be a good setup here. I can also choose, instead of bringing this part up, I can also choose to bring the ankle up. But again, if you bring the ankle up, you have to be careful of what occurs to the rest of the leg. And actually, this is actually turning out better if I bring this ankle up, because then we can actually make this look a little more realistic to what an actual human ankle linked to a foot would be. So maybe I'll bring this up, bring the foot part back down, and be careful when you bring this down. You want to make sure that it lines up with the IK part of your model. Otherwise, when we bring this into a game engine, the character may look like they're floating if the foot is too far down. So let's kind of adjust this. Use your two-dimensional views to do really good finite adjustments. Okay, and then from here what I'll do is I'll do the same thing that I did with the pelvis and try to fit this with my model as best as possible by utilizing scale tools. But before I do that, I just want to double check to see if everything looks decent. I think my knee area here could use a little bit of re-lengthening. And again, if I do that, I may need to edit other parts again. So like that'll happen. And I can re-lengthen this part again. So it just kind of fits a little bit better. And this is actually starting to look really good. Okay, this is kind of where I want to be at this point. Okay, and look at the ankles, make sure that this matches up properly. Okay. Then from here, what I'll do is adjust. I'm done adjusting lengths for the most part. I can go ahead and adjust a width and depth of the leg portions so that they fit a little bit better with the model. And again, if this goes outside the model a little bit, that's okay. So we'll adjust this. And adjust the width. And I'm kind of looking at this at all angles. Maybe this needs more of a depth. So I'll adjust width a little bit here. And then finally I'll go to the feet as well. Okay. And then again, finally make these finite adjustments here as well. Okay. So we're done with this leg. We're actually going to later on end up mirroring the other leg, which is a very simple process. So that'll take about a second. And when we come back, what we're going to go ahead and do is add a spine and add the arm and the head, and we'll actually be done rigging this character.